A Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone, and this is another in our Runner Stories podcast. And we're delighted to welcome Izzy back. Now, Izzy has done something quite amazing. She started running and she has raised a lot of money, and we'll talk a little bit more about the fundraising side of things later. But welcome, Izzy. Tell us why you did it. Why did you get started? What drove you? What was that motivation?
Thank you so much for having me back on the podcast. So I started running back in lockdown, actually. It was a bit of a thing that I wanted to do in lockdown to get fit. I've been going to the gym for years, since I was about 16 in, I would say, 2017 or so. And then in lockdown, everyone was doing the 5K, donate £5 for the NHS. So I saw all my friends doing it and I thought, oh, that looks so easy. Of course, I can just run a 5K with no training whatsoever. So I did exactly that. And actually, funnily enough, that 5K that I did 5 years ago was part of the route that I did for my 10K this year. And again, it was a very hilly route. So I did that 5K and I felt awful. I couldn't do it. And I thought, you know what, I actually do want to put my all into this and try and do a 5K and find it easy. So over lockdown, I did couch to 5K. Things got in the way, lockdown then lifted. I stopped running after that for a little bit, but I kept going back to the gym and I was walking on a treadmill and I was doing lots of weightlifting and things like that. And then at Christmas, just before Christmas, I decided, you know what, I'm going to give running a go again. At this point, I've been doing weekly spin classes. I've been really getting into the gym on a kind of 3 to 4 times a week basis. And I felt my fitness was increasing. And I thought maybe this is the right time to get back into running. So I started out on a treadmill and I just thought, I'll put it on. I'll see how far I can go. Had to couch to 5K in the background where I thought I'll run for 5 minutes and just see what happens. And then I just kept going and I ended up doing my first 5K on a treadmill just before Christmas of last year. I did it in like 45 minutes. It was quite slow and on a treadmill inside with an aircon on me. But that kind of sense of achievement of realising I actually can do this. I can run a 5K, albeit quite slow or at my own pace with a couple of stops in between. But this is something that I can achieve. And from then I wanted to get quicker. I wanted to then be able to run outside. I wanted to go to a park run. I set myself the goal of doing a park run and then the goal of doing a 10K. I went to a park run for the first time back in March, which was a great achievement because I went on my own. And that can be quite a scary thing to do on your own when there's, 400 other runners who can run very fast there. But I was really proud of myself when I got to do that back in March, kind of April time. And then, I set myself the goal of 10K and it was a New Year's resolution. So back in January when I did that 5K on the treadmill for the first time, I thought, you know what, New Year's resolution is going to be get into running and try and do my first 10K. That's when I looked into it a little bit more and I found out that the Walgrove 10K, which is the one that I completed recently, was happening in June and it was a local 10K to myself where I live. And I realised that it would be 10 years out of when I had spinal fusion surgery. I can get into that in a little bit, but that's mainly the reasons why I got into running, how I started and why I wanted to do the 10K when I did.
Right. Okay. And that's really interesting. And I think there's a couple of things you brought out there. Well, quite a few, actually. Two of the things that I want to look at now is you said you went to the park run on your own. Did you do all your training on your own? Did you join a running club or have you literally just been running solo?
No, I literally did all of it on my own pretty much from January on my own. So I started out on a treadmill when I was a bit nervous to go outside. And especially because this was January, February kind of time. It was so cold and I work 9 to 5. So didn't really want to go before work, but then it was dark after work. So really stuck to the gym, stuck to the treadmill. And then as it was getting lighter in April, then I thought I wanted to go and do a park run. Again, I went on my own. So pretty much all my training was on my own, apart from right at the very end when my boyfriend joined me for a few runs, which big shout out to him because he also joined me for the 10K, which was amazing to have a pacer with me. So it helped a lot.
Yeah, that's really good. And that was the other point about choosing your first event. And I think what's really important is that people need to really appreciate how many local 5 and 10K events there are. I mean, there's a park run on pretty much everywhere, and that's a 5K, obviously. But there are loads of 10Ks all over the place, and you don't necessarily think that, you don't appreciate that. So you don't have to travel for miles. You don't have to stay overnight. It is a lot easier than you think, isn't it? And I think, yours was very local, but a little bit hillier than you were expecting, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So I chose this Walgrove 10K because it was 10 years out of my of my spinal surgery 10 years ago, near the anniversary date. And yes, I did not realize how hilly this run exactly was. Like I said, I did the 5K route of it and I thought, oh, it's okay, it's fine, it's quite, there's quite a few hills, but I wasn't quite expecting that it was just hills all the time with barely any downhill, no flat whatsoever, just full uphill, probably about 80% uphill, I'd say.
This is going to be quite a challenge, and particularly for you, given the time of year that you ran it.
Yep. So it was also end of June, and it was one of the heat wave days, about 30 degrees, full sun. No, not even like it is now. It's probably about 26 now with cloud. This was 30 degrees, no cloud whatsoever. And also the route where it was, like I said, very hilly, but no shade whatsoever, barely any trees. It was just kind of along country paths that were going uphill, and that was about it. We were very lucky. There was about 5 people standing with hose pipes along the route, and I ran through those hose pipes every time that I could. It was unbelievably hot, and as a redhead, I mainly struggled with the heat. That was what I found really difficult. And as someone, I struggle with the heat anyway, just walking, going on holiday, doing anything. I do just struggle, and my body shuts down every now and then. And so, yeah, I'm very proud that I did it in the conditions that it was. And yeah, I mean, like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have believed that I could do the run, let alone in the heat as well. Even a year ago, I wouldn't have thought I would be able to do that. So I really did push myself, and I was proud of myself at the end.
You did an amazing job, but just think how easy it'll be next time when you do a flat 10K in the cold.
It's literally my first thought. The second I finished it was, I want to do that again, but flat and in the morning. Because it was also at 10 in the morning, I was an hour and 24 minutes. So 10 to 11:30 basically, which is like peak heat of the day. So as soon as I finished, it didn't put me off running. It just made me think, oh, as soon as I'm recovered, I'm going to go and do a 10K in the morning at a really flat route. Yeah.
So what did you do when you for choosing your kit, like your running shoes and your general gear? How did you go about getting those?
So with my scoliosis, I also have a very mild connective tissue disorder. So especially my ligaments, my ankles are very floppy. I used to be a tap dancer, which was very useful, but for running, maybe not. So I went to a shop called Up and Running in my local town, and just asked for some help to choose some running shoes. I've also been to see an orthopedics doctor to make sure that I was doing the right thing. And I did ask, can I actually do this with my feet? So my feet really roll in like a lot, and they're very, very flat. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to injure myself and make my feet any worse or anything like that. But my orthopedics doctor said that it was, all okay as long as I had the right shoes and the right orthotics as well. So I went to Up and Running, and I got some overpronation shoes, I want to say. I don't know if I've got the right words. Basically, they support my feet a lot more than normal running shoes. So that's what I went through earlier on in the year. I just bought some running shoes from John Lewis, and they were not the right fit for me at all. So yeah, going to Up and Running, having the gait analysis, they spent about an hour with me, go through all the different type of running shoes and trying them on a treadmill, and getting the right fit. And yeah, very luckily, haven't had any issues. And actually, back in January, when I just signed up for this race and started fundraising. It was like my 3rd training run, and it was only on a treadmill, and I really hurt my ankle, and it rolled in, and it was because I wasn't in the right shoes. And I couldn't run for about 2 or 3 weeks from that. So that freaked me out a little bit, and that's when I went to go and make sure that I had the right support. And luckily the shoes that I had were brilliant. I haven't had any pain since. So yeah, and then I would say everything else, I had a running vest for a bit, but actually preferred just to use a running belt because I felt the vest was a bit clunky when running. But on the day, my boyfriend very luckily carried my phone and my water, so just the shoes and the t-shirt in the end.
No, I'm really pleased you mentioned the going to a specialist running store, because so many people are running in the wrong shoes. So many people. And the fact that you've taken professional advice is really, really important, because you know that you need a support shoe, which is about 30% of the population. 70% of people are running in neutral shoes where you don't need that support, but some people's feet go in, some go out, and it's just critical to get the right shoe. Could you imagine if you hadn't got the right shoe, what that would have been like? I've just done a podcast recently where I talked about the problems I had years ago because I was in a support shoe and I shouldn't have been, and I nearly had Achilles surgery because my Achilles was so bad. It was so painful, and I was just in the wrong shoe. I should have been in a neutral shoe. So you did absolutely the right thing there. So let's talk about your scoliosis then, and obviously you ran this 10K for Scoliosis Support and Research charity. So just talk about your relationship with scoliosis and the thought process about fundraising.
Absolutely. So I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 12 years old. When I was younger, I had a lot of health issues, so I was at the GP every now and then. And it was actually a routine GP appointment where my GP said that he noticed a very slight curve in my spine. From then, I'd never heard of the word scoliosis, neither had my family. This was back in 2012. We went to a specialist and they said, yeah, I mean, you've got scoliosis, but hopefully you're 12 years old now, it shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, the curve then progressed quite a lot. I tried different things like back braces, which I found just didn't work for me. And when I was 14, then I went under for spinal surgery, for spinal fusion surgery. So I've now got 2 titanium rods all the way down my spine from literally my neck to my tailbone, and over 10 screws in my vertebrae as well. So I had that back in July 2015, which literally was the 10-year anniversary a few days ago, I think. So it's mad that it's been 10 years from then. I'm very lucky after the surgery. I haven't had any issues whatsoever. Before the surgery, with my scoliosis, with the curve in my spine, it progressed to, I want to say, about 70 degrees, I think, before the surgery. And I was in a lot of pain. I remember not being able to walk upstairs properly. I think I had breathing issues, but I just remember being in a lot of pain physically. And also just my image, I was very, very bent. So I was very excited to have it fixed, really, as a young teenage girl. After the surgery, very lucky that I haven't had any issues whatsoever, and that I've been able to keep up with physical activity and exercise. It hasn't affected my day-to-day routine in any way. And I go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. I do weightlifting, I do spin, I run, and I think the surgery has definitely allowed me, 100% allowed me to do everything that I'm able to do now. It's been a brilliant thing.
What would you say to a girl that's going through, and a lad that's going through what you were going through?
I would say the surgery is quite a scary thing at that age because it is a major surgery, but it's the best thing that I could have done and have ever done because of what it's allowed me to do as an adult and growing up. And the fact that, like I've said before, I've had absolutely no issues. Just think about what it's going to do for you growing up and the fact that it does allow you to do so many things that you couldn't do if you hadn't had the surgery, I think I would say.
Your fundraising was obviously very special. When did you decide that you wanted to fundraise in this event? Did the 2 decisions come together?
The run definitely came first. And then I was probably looking on social media, to be honest, and just looking at what everyone else was doing. And at the time, and I think it still is, but on TikTok, like Run Talk is a huge thing where a lot of people my age are getting into running and getting into fitness. So I've always wanted to fundraise for a charity. And I've said from the beginning, from 10 years ago, that it was Scoliosis Association back then, but now Scoliosis Support and Research. They really supported me through everything, through my diagnosis, through my surgery, and we received the weekly Backbone magazine for months. And that is pretty much what got me through the surgery because I was reading other people's stories. I wanted to go into journalism when I was younger, and I remember thinking, oh, when I'm older, I'd love to get into that magazine and write my story for the Backbone magazine. So it's actually really nice to be here now. And I remember thinking that at the age of 14, 15. And so the scoliosis charity has always been in the back of my mind. I thought this is also the perfect opportunity to raise money for a charity that means so much to me. And the 2 kind of fit together quite well, with it being 10 years since my spinal surgery, and the anniversary of that. So it all fit in very well. And not only 10 years of spinal surgery, so then my slogan, as you would say, was 10K for 10 years, and raising money for scoliosis, which was a great thing. I was very excited to do.
The great thing with you is that you had so much time to train and so much time to fundraise, and these are obviously 2 of the major issues when you're fundraising in an event, is getting yourself fit and healthy, ready to run, and leaving yourself enough time to fundraise properly. And it's a particular issue if you've got a guaranteed charity entry in a race, because obviously you have to raise that amount of money. So if someone runs for a charity on a London Marathon entry, generally speaking, they have to raise about £2,000. Now, you had your own entry in a race. So for the charity, this is fantastic because whatever you can raise is a bonus. And you nearly raised £2,000 on a local 10K, which is absolutely incredible. So just talk us through how you went about that process.
I decided that I was going to do this back in January as a New Year's resolution. And I looked into it and looked on the Scoliosis Support Research website of how I would actually fundraise. So I wasn't entirely sure. I haven't done it before, and kind of went through all the steps of that. So I signed up and then made my Just Giving page and kind of thought, well, let's see where it goes. And I put it on my social media really early on, back in January, with my goal to raise £300. And I think I smashed that in the first day or something ridiculous. And I think I raised £700 within the first week. And this is back in January, bearing in mind the race was in June. So I felt like such an imposter because I couldn't even run. I could just about run 5K on the treadmill. And that then was like that moment of, oh, I actually do need to do this now. This isn't a silly ha-ha fun moment. This is I need to start training properly. But yeah, very luckily I had a lot of time to train, which was really good. And also in the winter and a bit of spring as well, and obviously into the summer. So it was a nice time to train for my first race. Yeah, no, I made most of my fundraising was on social media, which I'm very grateful to have such a great support network. And on the day of the race as well, which I might get into a little bit later, but I had lots of my friends come and watch. So friends from my university, I mean, some of my friends travel down from Nottingham to come see me for the day, for the morning, literally, which that's about a 3-hour drive to come down. I had friends come from London to come see me, and we all went for dinner later. And one of the girls that I was sat with, Emily, she was there with me through my surgery. So she visited me a week after my surgery at home, and she remembers what it was like. And I think that's why how I did so well was that I think people know how much this charity means to me, and they were there with me through it as well. So yeah, it's just been incredible.
So there's a couple of things that have came out of that. So the fundraising almost acted as a motivation for you, really. It almost pushed you to, not that you weren't going to do it, but it sort of, gave you that extra reason to do it, didn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
And the other aspect of what you've just said to us is the importance of running for a cause that you can relate to. I just wonder how much, be interesting to see what you think. I mean, we'll go into a bit more detail about how you use social media, but if you were running for, I don't know, a humanitarian charity or an animal charity that you had no relationship with whatsoever, what do you think the impact would have been?
I think the fact that scoliosis is such a important charity to me 100% pushed me so much more than it would have ever done. And I think literally when you're actually running as well, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I'm tired, I'm getting out of breath, my feet hurt, all of this, then I would just think, no, I'm doing this for a really good cause, and it definitely pushed me a lot harder than it would have done, I would say.
And it probably led to more donations from friends and family than maybe would have happened with another cause.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like I mentioned, like Emily saying that she knew how hard it was for me, and they kind of were with me when I was 14 through school and when I had time off school and things like that. So yeah, 100%. I think my support network definitely know what it means to me as well.
So let's talk a bit more detail then about, you said you use social media. I'm just interested in, because obviously a lot of people will go down that road. How much did you use social media? How often did you post? What did you post? Did you give updates through your training? How exactly did you go about it? And what media did you use?
Yeah, so I mainly posted on Instagram, actually, on Instagram stories. And I posted that just on my personal account and probably updated every month, I would say, from January, maybe a few times a month in some periods, depending on how much I was running. And what I posted was my updates of how I was getting on with my training. So using Strava to then show, oh, look, I ran 8K today, which is the longest I've ever run, and then putting the donation link onto the page as well. So that's basically mainly how I used it, was to show my training and show that I was pushing myself every week. And yeah, so mainly Instagram. I use LinkedIn a little bit as well. I work in social media as well, so that was useful that I had a network there. Yeah, they were the main two, actually. I did post one thing on TikTok, but it didn't do very well. So I kind of let that go. Yeah, I posted like a little mini vlog on TikTok of me training and being like, oh, this is training vlog number 1. And then I ran around my village and I did 5.5K. At the time, that was the longest I'd run outside because I'd started on a treadmill. And then I was like at the end, like, oh, stay tuned for so many more to come. And it just didn't do very well at all. So I thought, you know what, I'll put most of my energy into my Instagram, which is where it was doing well. So that didn't do too well. But I'm sure if I put more energy into the TikTok, I think it could have taken off. And I've seen people do it and it has taken off really well, because people like to see when other people are pushing themselves and challenging themselves to do something and then achieving it at the end, is to see that journey. But yeah, mainly I use Instagram stories to my followers.
Did you update your Just Giving page with your Strava link?
That was the one thing I kept forgetting to do, and I did right before the end. I updated the Just Giving page, but Strava, I had a lot of people, about 30 followers on Strava as well, so I think that kind of support network could see every time I posted on Strava. And I was also posting not only my runs but also my spin classes and when I was going to the gym, so it all kind of fit into one place. But then I would take the screenshot from the Strava and put it onto the Instagram story, and that was where I mainly got donations, which was great to see. But Strava's excellent to, literally, like you said, to prove that you've done it, because anyone could take a selfie outside and be like 5k, but to show the route of where you run and the time and all of that. So yeah, I think that's what pushed me to do it as well. I mean, they say do it for the kudos is what my friends were holding for signs, because on Strava it is that instant gratification of when you've done a run, someone likes it, you think, oh yeah, someone's supporting me. So yeah, Instagram, Strava, LinkedIn were the main platforms I used.
What was it like the night before?
The night before, actually, I went to a barbecue. So it was a very busy weekend. It all got very hectic, very last minute. I went to a barbecue, and then my family had a party as well. So I actually went to bed a bit later. I obviously didn't drink anything, but went to bed a little bit later than I probably should have. I did have a nice burger beforehand, which I hope helped. But yeah, that was the night before. And then the morning of, it got up relatively early, about 8 in the morning, got ready. And yeah, the weekend ended up weirdly. I had it booked out for so long, for 6 months, and then things just kept rocking up. And I was like, oh, that is the night before my race, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it's okay. But I don't think it was the sleep that I needed to be worried about. It was mainly about the heat and the health.
Yeah, so you knew a couple of days out then that it was going to be a hot one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think I knew from the beginning, because most people I've spoken to, obviously it's a local 10K. Most people I've spoken to said, oh, I did that 5 years ago and it was 30 degrees and it's all uphill. And I was like, oh yeah, but hopefully when I do it, it won't be. But no, it was one of the hottest weekends. So I think I was actually running and I was at 8k and it was up a hill, obviously. And then we got to the end of that last hill and there were marshals just stood there clapping me along. And I said, next year, can you please do this in March and at 7 in the morning instead of June at 10?
So where did you see all your friends and family then? Were they dotted along the course?
Oh yeah, it was so cute. So some of them met me at the start when they could make it. They were coming from London and from Nottingham. So if they were there in the morning, started at 10, so they got there about 9:30. They saw me at the beginning when we set off, and then at the end, a few of them were at the 6k mark, so about just over halfway. And then they went back to the start was also the finish as well, which was good. So my family stayed there and waited for me at the end, and then some of my friends. And then the end of the loop, which the photos of me are horrendous. I'm never publishing these photos anywhere. It was up a hill, obviously, like a very steep hill to get to the end. And then you basically run around a park in like a square. So you can see the finish line right in front of you, and then you have to go all the way around it. So all the photos of me just realizing that and thinking I'm not even nearly there yet. And then my friends on that square, they then dotted themselves all around the square before I got to the end, which was very sweet. But I was so tired, so exhausted, felt so ill. It got posted onto the Scoliosis Instagram of me going, I think I'm going to be sick right at the end because the heat just got to me. So I could see them all dotted around, and I kept saying to them, I was like, thanks, but I can't talk right now. And I was so appreciative that they were there. I mean, it was incredible, but I felt like I can't tell them that enough, especially when I was running. I was like, thanks for coming, but I just can't even see anything right now. So yeah, that was so lovely of them to be there. And then, like I mentioned before, my boyfriend ran it with me, which was great. And he plays a lot of hockey and he's done sport all of his life. So for him, that was like a really light jog on a Sunday morning. He found it absolutely fine. I was there sweating and can't breathe. So yeah.
Great to have that support though, isn't it?
It was lovely, yeah.
Was there plenty of water on the course?
Yeah, there was, yeah. I mean, so Jack had a bottle of water with him as well. But there were lots of, because it was a village event meant to be during like a festival, like a village festival, all the guides and scouts all were handing out cups of water, which was very useful, and hose pipes as well. That was great. So it was a really good atmosphere. And it was a really really nice community event.
Did you find that you got some donations on the day and the day after?
I did. I got, I think about, I'll have to check this, either £100 or £200 on the day, or on the day after. So yeah, and all the comments on my Just Giving page were, well, not the best conditions to do this on, or hope the heat won't be too bad, because it was, everyone woke up in the morning and saw the sun. I was like, oh gosh, it's race day.
And what was that feeling like when you crossed the finish line?
Oh, well, it was a mixture of things, because I did feel like I was going to throw up a little bit. So it was a feeling of, no one look at me, I look horrendous. And then someone gave me a medal, and I thought, if I stand here, I'm sorry, this is probably a bit gross. I thought, if I stand here any longer, I'll be sick on your shoes. And everyone was filming as well, so I thought, I don't want that to be on camera. So they were the main thoughts in my head. But then obviously the other thoughts were, thank God I've done it. Oh my God, I've raised so much, and that was such a great experience. Yeah, no, it was definitely like sense of pride, tear also. But mixed emotions, because I felt so rough at the end of it.
I think that's the gambit of emotions. Really, when you finish a race, you're generally speaking not in the best shape of your life. You're unbelievably emotional, and that feeling of euphoria is huge, because you've done something you've been planning for so long, and with what you did with the fundraising. So just tell us the final total that you raised.
So it was £1,655, which is insane.
I think it's the highest amount I've ever seen on a local 10K. You should be really proud. So I think emotionally for you, you had your first run, your first fundraising effort, and 10 years since you had spinal fusion, which is, that's quite a combination, really.
Yeah, it was like unbelievably overwhelming. I think that's the main words I had, was we all went for dinner after, and I just couldn't talk. And everyone was like, "You're all right?" I was like, I felt so overwhelmed, but in a really good way, because it was really emotional. I mean, yeah, just thinking that it was 10 years since my spinal surgery, remembering after the surgery, not being able to walk, having to learn to walk again, having to learn to roll over in bed again, all those little things that you don't think about. And then all the moments through my life as well, where I've, struggled with picking up a box and thinking, that's annoying. If I didn't have scoliosis, I would be able to do that easily, or little bits like that. And it all kind of felt worth it after the run, I think. And that I remember while I was running. Yeah, it was just, very overwhelming, but in a really good way.
So the big question is, what's next?
Well, I've got a half marathon booked in October, but we'll see how that goes, because I'm training over the summer, so I don't really know why we've done that. But my friends who came to visit me on the run, we all kind of got into running at the same time. Like I said before, I do think it's a big, I don't want to say the word trend, because I don't think running should be a trend, but it's a big thing at the moment, I think, with young people. I think we're coming away from, it's a lot in the news, young people aren't so much going on nights out, but they're more into kind of matcha and running, and run clubs is like a massive thing as well in the youth marketing sphere and all this. We all kind of got into running at the same time. We actually haven't even run together. We just do it separately, but we follow each other on Strava. So we've all signed up for this half marathon in London. There's about 6 or 7 of us doing it, which will be really fun.
Well, you did an amazing job, and you are an example to other people what they can achieve. And I think with your use of social media, you've shown people what can be done. And we talk a lot on here about, just set up a fundraising page. You might raise £200 or £300 just sending it out to your friends, and people are always a bit sort of, I don't know. But there are so many examples, and you're one of them, where you did do that, but then you kept going, and that's really, really important. So well done. You did an incredible job, and hopefully we can have a chat in and around the half marathon.
Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, like I said before, it's been an amazing year, and I'm so happy that I was able. I mean, it's been 6 months really of doing this, so I'm just so happy that I was able to do that, and it's such a great achievement that I've managed to do. And yeah, it's just been the best start to 2025, and I completed a New Year's resolution, which I've never done before. So it's been such an honor to raise money for such a great charity, and a charity that supported me and that I know will support a lot of young people, what they're going through. So it's been great to be able to give back to that charity.
Fantastic. Well done.
Thank you.
Hi, Will here from Scoliosis Support Research. If you're looking for a great cause to run for, we'd love to have you on board. Drop me a message at fundraising@ssr.org.uk. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back, as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.